the recipient of the Best Learning Center Award 2011 for ARI Academy and Knowledge Center from the Indian Society for Training and Development at in Pune. Dr. Kamal Kishore Vora has done his bachelor's in mechanical engineering from BVM Vallabh and master's in automobile engineering in 1985, and he has done his PhD from IIT Mumbai in year 2000. He has a vast industrial and academic experience of 35 years and has been associated with Wachangar Industries, Emitech Emissions Control, Mahindra and Mahindra and ARAI. He was the secretary and vice president of the Society of Automotive Engineers SA India and conduct series of conferences, seminars, workshop courses and various activities like AWIEM and BAHA SA India. He is now the managing committee member of SA India, member of SA International Engineering Meeting Board in USA, member of Congress Board of FICITA in UK and SA India Off Highway Board. Dr. Vora has 2 patents, 3 books, 2 reports, and 32 international papers and 65 national papers to his credit. We are very much lucky to have your session, sir. Please, you can start your session, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bhatt. And I would now start my presentation. Give me a minute. Full screen. Okay, so are you able to see my full slide?
Yes, sir.
Very
it is
good.
Visible.
Yes. So today I am going to speak. Yes, thank you. So today I am going to speak on electric vehicle challenges and future. And before that, I'm going to close my video. Just 1 second. The video is closed. And okay. Now the presentation is seen, right? Dr. Bhatt, you are able to see the presentation full screen?
Fine. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hopefully now there won't be any disturbance, and you are able to see me and you are able to see the slides. And I'm going to talk about electric vehicle challenges in future. So I would say that e-mobility solution is here for the future, but there are a lot of anxieties, there are a lot of questions in everybody's mind, which we will try to address. You will see that IC engines have been very popular from last so many years, and many of us, including me, have worked in the field of IC engines. I have done my PhD in engine and emission after treatment device, and I am in love with IC engine, no doubt to that. But with times, with changing times, you need to change. You need to reskill yourself. And under this reskilling, in last couple of years, I have learned what is electric vehicle, what is electric hybrid vehicle. And today I teach engine and emission also, and I teach electric vehicle also. So similarly, since all of you are faculty, I want to tell you that you and your students and your alumni, you have to tell them that you have to do reskilling continuously in life to adapt to the current scenario. And hence, we must have a look at the electric vehicle and see that how can we take care of both. Also, I must tell you that IC engines are not going to die, because to have penetration of 100% electric vehicle in the world, we require a lot of lithium, we require a lot of other material, we require special magnets in the motor, which is not possible. Today, we have in India supply chain problem. We up till now, till last year, we were buying everything from China. We are buying the batteries, ready-made batteries, lithium-ion batteries from China, motors from China, the magnets required from the motor from China, and so on. So it will not be very easy for us to shift directly to electric vehicle. So the prediction is by 2030, that is another 10 years, the penetration of electric vehicle in India would be only 30%. That means even in 2030, there will be 70% IC engine coming in the market. That means vehicles with IC engine coming, and there will be only 30% electric vehicle coming in the market. Forget about the vehicle which are already running on road. So we may have billions of vehicles which are running on road, which are IC engines, and hence we need to continue working in IC engine, but parallelly we must start working on electric vehicle, autonomous vehicle, shared mobility, connected vehicle. So as far as maintenance is concerned, electric vehicles will be cheaper than the normal IC engine vehicle, but the initial cost of electric vehicles are higher than the initial cost of IC engine vehicle. Why? Because there is no manufacturing of scale. There is no economy. See, there is something called economics of scale. If you are going to manufacture 1 million Tata Nano vehicle, then it will be possible for 1 lakh rupees. But if you are not able to produce 1 million Tata when you don't have orders of 1 million vehicle, then probably the cost will become double, 2 lakhs rupees, which is now. So similarly, electric vehicles are costlier than IC engine vehicle today because it has no economics of scale. They are not making in billions. Yes, Tesla has started producing on a mass scale, and hence they are able to reduce the price. So lithium-ion battery are the most costliest part in an electric vehicle, and that is why electric vehicles are costly. That is why the government has come out with a notification that the automotive industry can sell electric vehicle without battery. Battery can be taken on rent, battery can be swapped. So all these regulations have come in, which are very unique to India. It is not there anywhere else in the world. So we are always creative. We will talk about the regulation in the subsequent slides later on. So when you do well-to-wheel analysis, we say that once we fill the petrol or diesel in a car, what happens to the emission? But sometimes we say we must not only think of what we fill in the car, because if we give electricity in the car, then what comes out is zero emission. That does not mean that electric vehicle emits zero. We must see from well to wheel, from where the electricity is produced or from where the petroleum products are produced. So let us take the picture on the extreme right. You can see well to tank. That means wherever electricity is produced and it comes to the vehicle or to the charging point, it is only 30% efficient. That means the efficiency of transferring the electricity from well to tank is very low because we are generating electricity by burning coal or using hydel power or even sometimes using solar power and wind power. This will not give you 100% efficiency, specifically when you are burning coal and generating electricity. So in India today, most of the time we are burning coal and generating electricity or burning different fuels and generating electricity. A time has come to start working on solar energy, wind energy, hydel power and others. Then it will take, then the well-to-wheel analysis would be better. However, electric vehicles as an individual is very, very efficient. Its efficiency is as high as 80%. When I compare this with an IC engine, the IC engine thermal efficiency may be 20%, 30%, 40%. And companies worldwide are keeping a target of converting the IC engine with an efficiency of 50%. But it cannot reach 80% at all. Yes, in future when we develop adiabatic engines, we will be able to have higher efficiency. But today, 50% seems to be a reasonable number for the thermal efficiency of an engine. provided we are able to achieve it. And for that, we need to really do a lot of research. As far as the transportation of the fuel is concerned, the fuel, crude petroleum which we import, is converted into petrol, diesel, and other fuels. And then they are transported through the tanker to the petrol pump, and from the petrol pump we take it. That transportation is very efficient. Yes, there could be some adulteration, but it is very efficient. But the IC engine efficiency is poor. So well to tank fuels are better. Tank to wheel IC engines are not better. Whereas the other way, well to tank electricity is poor, but tank to wheel electricity is good. So if you combine them together, you will see that in this example, typical example, electric vehicle from well to wheel are 24% efficient, whereas IC engine fuel from well to wheel are 16% efficient. So electric vehicle is still better than IC engine. But these are numbers, you can prove the way you want. But it is very clear in this pandemic, you must have seen when we were not allowed to go out of our home and everything was under lockdown and people were not using the vehicle, the pollution level had drastically gone down, and then you saw a lot of animals and birds around your house in the garden. I myself have seen a lot of new birds in my garden because the pollution level have drastically gone down and the movement of vehicle and the human being had drastically gone down. That is something which we are longing for. But specifically electric vehicles, when they run in cities, cities are like big conglomerate where many people are staying and many vehicles are there. There, if we start using electric vehicles, the pollution level will drastically go down. And that is what we want to do, and that is what government is suggesting. Let electric vehicle come in the cities. So government has found out 50 cities in India, the 4 metros and other big cities like Ahmedabad and Pune, where we are planning to have more of electric vehicle so that the city pollution goes down and the high population of human beings in the city are saved. In the villages, even if there is emission, it spreads out, and per human being, the effect is comparatively very low. So if we do the well to wheel CO2 emission comparison, if you see a gasoline vehicle emits 11,000 pounds of CO2 emission. Now if you use an electric vehicle, I think we are requesting everyone to keep their mic in mute. So if you talk about electric vehicle which is charged through electricity generation, whether it is through coal, nuclear, wind or gas, then the CO2 emission is 4,000 pounds. But if we use electric vehicle from renewables, when I say renewable, from solar energy, wind energy, then the CO2 emission is 0. And that is what we are moving from IC engine vehicle to electric vehicle, and from electric vehicle to electric vehicle which are charged using renewables. Then we will have a cleaner air to breathe. So let's look at the history of electric vehicle. You will see that in an electric vehicle, somewhere in 1832, Robert Anderson and Thomas Parker developed electric vehicle, and there were even fleets of taxis in Paris, New York, and Detroit. Electric vehicles were running, and then Detroit Electric started mass production of electric vehicle in 1907, and that is the time when Ferdinand Porsche also built a hybrid electric vehicle. That means
sir, sorry to interrupt you. We are not able to see the presentation, sir.
Oh, thank you that you told me. So that's what I asked you, but let me do it again.
No, just now it has stopped. Otherwise it was working okay, sir.
Fine, sir. Just give me a minute. I will reshare.
Yes, sir.
Now, sir?
Yes, sir. But not the full screen, sir.
Okay. Now?
Yes, sir. We can see the full screen. We are on the slide, a sneak peek into the history.
Very good. So I can quickly show you what I showed. This was the first slide, then this was the second slide, which you had seen. And then I did well to wheel analysis, and then talked about well to we'll analyze CO2 emission and how CO2 emission will drastically reduce when we shift to electric vehicle. And then now I'm on the 5th slide of a sneak peek into the history. So as I told you that there were people who worked in 1830s to develop electric vehicle, and there were some fleets in major cities like Paris, New York, and Detroit. So when Detroit Electric started mass production of electric vehicle in 1907, same time Henry Ford started mass production of normal IC engine vehicle, and there was a tough competition between them. And you all know that when Henry Ford started mass production, he started that T Ford model with a very low price, because he knew that if he's going to mass produce, then the cost of the vehicle will go down, and he took that risk of selling it at a very low cost. And when compared to electric vehicle and the normal IC engine vehicle, obviously normal IC engine vehicle had more speed, more power and low cost, and hence the electric vehicle had a big blow. And slowly the electric vehicle started disappearing the market, and the IC engine vehicle became more and more popular. Till a time came, there were two reasons of electric vehicles coming back. One is high pollution of IC engine vehicle, and second is the oil prices. So somewhere in 1963, the oil prices went up like anything. That means it was $25 per gallon, and it became 10 times, 20 times higher. And then countries like India, China, USA and Europe started thinking that we are all dependent on OPEC countries for crude petroleum, and we are wasting so much of our foreign reserves. What can we do? And they all started working on alternate fuels like CNG, LPG, hydrogen, ethanol, methanol, biodiesel. Worldwide, people have worked on this fuel. Even in India also, we were successful in 90s to implement CNG. So ARI got an award for implementing CNG in India. It started with Delhi, and now throughout India there are many CNG and LPG vehicles, whether it's two-wheeler, three-wheeler or four-wheeler. Yes, I must say Ahmedabad was the first country to use LPG cooking gas cylinder to convert all their Maruti Omni vehicles into CNG vehicle, LPG vehicle. Yeah, but that was unofficial, because we cannot use cooking gas cylinder for that application. But I know my sister is staying in Ahmedabad, and before 35 years, I have seen LPG cylinder being used in the Maruti Omni vehicles. Okay. Similarly, in Los Angeles, there are a lot of emission because of lot of cars, gas guzzlers being used by the actors, directors in Bollywood. And since Los Angeles is in a valley and it is surrounded by hills around, including the Hollywood, there was a lot of emissions and people were getting sick, people were hospitalized, people were suffering from asthma. And that is the reason why California came out with the first norm, emission norm of the world. And this was done through CARB, California Air Resource Board. So in 1960s, California Air Resource Board was formed. 1970, they declared the first Clean Air Act. 1976, it was the catalytic converters were introduced, and catalytic converter became very popular to reduce the emission from IC engine vehicle. And then in 1990, California again came back with zero emission mandate. He said there must be some vehicle which must give zero emission, and that's how electric vehicle became popular. So because of oil crisis and the higher emission, electric vehicle become popular. And you'll be surprised to know that in India also, in 2001, Chetan Maini came out with a Reva electric car from his Bangalore factory, and he did his best. He came from abroad after his further studies, and with the help of his father, he started this business. Today, Chetan Maini is still there and he's still working the field of electric vehicle. Just for your information, Chetan Maini has built up a very big swapping station in Ahmedabad under his new company called Sun Mobility, because Reva Electric was sold to Mahindra and now it's called Mahindra Electric. And Chetan Maini started altogether a new startup called Sun Mobility, where there are hundreds of buses in Ahmedabad running on electric vehicle, and these vehicles are, the batteries are swapped. So he has a big crane which lifts the battery from the bus, and he has a ready-made batteries which he swaps, and the bus moves ahead. It doesn't need time to charge the battery because the batteries are swapped. This is all done in fraction of minutes. And that is what is one of the anxiety, that we will require to wait at the station to charge our battery for 1 hour, 2 hours, and we have no time. Right? Today we are just filling petrol or diesel in fraction of second and move ahead. We have time for that much, but we don't have patience for 1 hour to charge our battery. So government has introduced the swapping norms, and anyone can swap the battery if there are people who are having a business of swapping, and that one anxiety will come down. We'll talk about other anxieties later on, but I will now move faster. So in 1991 in Europe, there were models like Kevin and Buddy, and even today there are lots of electric vehicles sold in Europe. Then came Japanese and Toyota and Honda, and they came out with electric and hybrid vehicle. And then USA became popular. USA was popular in 1980 to 1900, but after mass-produced cars of Ford, it went down. Once again, in 2008, Tesla came forward. It was formed in 2004. In 2008, the production is started. Today, Tesla is the biggest automotive vehicle company in the world who are selling electric vehicles. Then we had more Japanese companies like Nissan and others. And today now almost each and every company works on electric vehicle. Even Mahindra is working, Tata is working, and Maruti has also started working. There is no other option but to look at electric vehicle. So if you look country-wise, Norway is the only country where their penetration of electric vehicle is 56%. That means every year out of the total vehicles sold, 56% of the vehicles are electric vehicles. Then comes Iceland, Sweden, Netherlands, Finland. You can see all of them are from Europe. So Europe was much ahead in adopting electric vehicle. They understood how pollution will create problem with IC engine vehicle. Today, in terms of market, the top three countries are China and USA and Norway, right? So in terms of production, China is producing more vehicles, then USA and then Norway. But in terms of penetration, out of the total vehicles sold, highest is Norway. Fine. India sold around 3,600 electric cars against 3.6 million cars sold in 2018-19. That is only 0.1%. So everyone understood how do we find the penetration? Find out the total number of electric vehicles sold in that year, divided with the total number of vehicles sold in that year into 100 will give you the penetration in percentage. So today in 2018-19, the penetration of electric vehicle is only 0.1% in India. We sold 3.6 million cars in the year 18-19, out of which 0.1% was only electric vehicle. In the year 1920, this 0.1% will become at the most 1%. I would say it will be less than 1%, but let us say 1%. And in 2021, it will build up, it will become 1%, 2%, 3%. Like that, by 2030, it will be 30%. So this is the prediction. So you can see in 18-19, if you see the bottom left green table, we produce around 3,600 cars. And in 17-18, we produce around 1,200 cars. And now we are building up, it will be in lakhs. Similarly, you will see the highest electric vehicle which is being sold in India is three-wheeler. Electric three-wheeler, we sold 6,30,000 vehicle in the year 18-19. It's moving up. So first highest is electric three-wheeler. Second highest will be electric two-wheeler. And there are a lot of two-wheeler startups which have started electric vehicle in India. And third is electric four-wheeler. Electric four-wheeler will have to work very hard, and that is why government came up with FAME regulation to ensure that even four-wheelers sells. So the roadmap is very strong. We are moving very fast to support electric mobility. And as I told you, by 2030, we want 30% penetration. But there is a company called Goldman Sachs. So if you see the right hand side bottom figure, it says in India by 2030 the penetration would be only 8%. In 2040 the penetration will be 38%, and in 2040 if we become very optimistic it will be 60%. That means there is still scope of 40% to IC engine. We don't have to worry about IC engine, but 8% is very worrying us, because we don't want 8% of penetration in 2030, we want 30%. So let's see how do we work towards it. So as I told you, India has the potential to sell electric vehicle in large numbers to curb the menace of degrading air quality index. We need to educate the younger generation to buy electric vehicles. So now I'm giving a very big responsibility to all the faculty. Sir, how many faculties are here today? But sir,
So 90% are faculties.
how many of them are there? Around 40 from the list of participants?
Sir, all of them are faculties, sir.
No, what are the numbers? What is the quantity?
190, sir.
Wow, 190. So most of you say, I assume that 170 are the faculty. So I am giving a very big responsibility to all of you, and that is of electric vehicle awareness. I'll be talking about it later, but faculty, I request all of you to first study about electric vehicle, become more knowledgeable so that you can teach electric and hybrid vehicle to students in future. Any help required from me, that is from ARAI, we are available. I will share my email ID on the last slide so that you can write to me. And we are ready to do a free electric vehicle awareness program in your college. So even if I assume that you are from different 100 engineering colleges, then I am ready, we are ready as AREI to do 100 electric vehicle awareness program in your colleges, free of charge, right? So please write to me. If required, we can club together in different cities, but we are ready for that. And this is a mandate given to us by the Government of India through Ministry of Heavy Industry and Public Enterprise. ARI is an autonomous body under Ministry of Heavy Industry and Public Enterprise, and our major job is to certify vehicle, to test and certify electric vehicle and normal vehicle, and 75% of the vehicles are being tested and certified by us. So whether it is emission, whether it is safety, the crash test, the BS6 emission, the fuel efficiency like 25 kilometer per liter, what you see in the newspaper, or whether it is roadworthiness of the vehicle, or whether it is as per CMVR rule, or it is various components, everything is tested and certified by ARA. It takes around 3 months to test and certify a vehicle. And once they get a type approval certificate, only then they can share this certificate to the dealers, and through dealers they sell this vehicle. Till then they cannot sell this vehicle. So my word that I will be helping you for the electric vehicle awareness, and only if you are able to help teach students and encourage awareness of electric vehicle, and they start buying electric vehicle in future, once they start earning, the penetration will be 30% by 2030. Otherwise it is difficult. So you have a very strong and very high responsibility on your shoulders, and I'm there to support you. So what is India doing? How is India supporting? So India first came out with the National Electric Mobility Mission Plan 2020, and they had a target to sell 6 million electric vehicle by 2020, which is not possible. Even if we sell 6 lakhs electric vehicle, it would be fine. And then came the FAME scheme, FAME 1, FAME 2. The full form of FAME is faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicle in India. This was prepared with the help of automotive industry through NITI Aayog. NITI Aayog is like Planning Commission of India, the new name, and it is the think tank of India. All intelligent people are in NITI Aayog in Delhi, and our government, and especially the Prime Minister, looks forward to NITI Aayog in all its policy. So NITI Aayog came forward with this FAME, and also through EESL, Energy Efficiency Service Limited, it was decided all government cars will be electric vehicle, and they gave an order of 10,000 electric vehicle. Tata and Mahindra came forward to supply this electric vehicle. They have already supplied this electric vehicle. Then came the electric vehicle charging, and a lot of charging stations are coming in these 50 cities. only because of Corona, because of this pandemic, the pace of setting up electric charging station had gone down. Now I am sure from January 2021, this will accelerate and we will have a lot of charging stations. So your anxiety of charging station will also reduce. So basically there are three anxieties. One is how much time I require for charging station. Number two, where are the charging stations? And number three, what is the range of my vehicle? If I want to go from Baroda to Ahmedabad or Ahmedabad to Baroda, or if I want to go from Bangalore to Chennai and Chennai to Bangalore, or Pune to Bombay and so on, will I be able to go without any charging? That's a big question, and that's why we feel that the range of an electric vehicle must be more than 250 kilometer. Otherwise, people will have anxiety, right? And so we are working on all these areas. FAME is working on 4 focus area: technology development. So ARI supports electric vehicle technology development, demand creation, that means electric vehicle awareness, through which more and more people will buy electric vehicle even if they are slightly costlier. And then help government to work on various pilot projects. So the faculty, you can also work on various pilot projects and get some grant through FAME or through DST. So through FAME, a lot of funding is given to DST, and through DST you can get this funding for education purpose, for training purpose, and for your projects. And the fourth one is charging infrastructure. Government is going to spend a lot of money in the charging infrastructure. And charging infrastructure need not come only at the petrol pump. There will be at the malls, there will be near the theaters, there will be near the hotels and restaurants. And individuals, companies will also have their own charging station near their gate, right? So growth of EV is becoming bigger and bigger, and there is a big chunk of shared mobility. That means companies like Ola, Uber, Mahindra has come out with a new shared mobility called Glide, Ather Energy. They are all working on generating electric vehicles and also using it for shared mobility. So Niti Aayog has predicted or has wished that we will have 30% penetration of electric vehicle, which will save 64% of the anticipated road-based mobility-related energy demand. So our fuel consumption will reduce, our carbon dioxide emission will reduce by 37%, and we will be able to save a lot of money in foreign exchange. This is what is the prediction, this is what is the need of the hour, and this is what is the request. So we all need to work and support Niti Aayog towards this. So there is a very big document called India Leaps Ahead Transformation Mobility Solution for All. I will request all the faculty to download FAME document, all the faculty to download India Leaps Ahead document, all the faculties to download National Electric Mobility Mission Plan, FAME regulation. There are so many things available on Google. You can just download them and read them, right? So earlier, the FAME India scheme phase 1 talked about subsidy up to 1.5 lakhs. That means up to 15% of the vehicle in terms of cost. But then government understood that it must not be in terms of cost, it must be in terms of the power of the motor. So they changed under FAME 2. And because if somebody is selling electric vehicle for 1 crore rupees, he also gets 15% subsidy, and somebody is buying electric vehicle of 5 lakhs rupees, he also gets 15% subsidy. That is injustice. So we want to penetrate electric vehicle, but we don't want to support big multinationals which are selling electric and hybrid vehicle at a very high cost. We want them to work on innovation, come out with low cost solution, and then sell. So now it is based on the power of the motor, and FAME 2 is already implemented. And you see that how much crores of rupees government is spending. So almost 10,000 crores of fund has been allotted for penetration of electric vehicle in the next 3 years, 1920, 2021 and 21-22. And you would see that the charging infrastructure also 300 to 400 crores of rupees has been given, and a lot of charging stations are going to come up. Okay. So this is how, based on the motor, this given, and the incentive is varying from 20,000 rupees to 50 lakhs rupees. So I also booked an electric two-wheeler and I'm going to get a subsidy of 20,000 rupees, right? Okay. So there are many startups who are coming up in India who are going to work on two-wheeler, three-wheeler, four-wheeler electric vehicles, charging stations, swapping batteries, retrofitting of IC engine vehicle into electric. So you just remove the engine and put an e-kit there with motor and battery management system, battery and all those things, right? So the entire ecosystem in India is taking up this challenge for the future of electric vehicle, right? So we will have around 50 startups in the 5 years on electric mobility. So already there are companies like Ether Energy, Torque Motors, Revolt, Mflex, Ultraviolet, who are working, and they all of them, just for information, have branch in Ahmedabad. Ether Energy, for example, have tied up with Kataria Group in Ahmedabad to sell electric scooters, or they have tied up with BU Bhandari to sell scooters in Pune, and so on. So, and these are all young people, like for example, Tarun Mehta and Swapnil Jain are just 26, 27-year-old, passed out from IIT Chennai, supported through IIT Madras Research Park, and started this business before a couple of years. And companies like Flipkart and Hero has stake. Flipkart and Hero, each of them have 20% stake in this company. And that's why this company is moving up very fast. And the prices of the two-wheelers are varying from 1 lakh rupees to 1.5 lakhs rupees. And the power of the electric vehicle is like 5 kilowatt or 10 kilowatt and so on. Okay. There are other startups also which have started working on various areas, and I can share this presentation to Bhatt sir, and Bhatt sir can share this presentation to all of you. So there are various electric vehicles. There are two-wheelers, three-wheelers, cars, buses. Yeah. So basically, trucks will not use electric vehicle because it has to take a very heavy load and move up the hill in a ghat. But two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and some e-rickshaws and cart are going to be very popular. Initially, we just had an electric vehicle which used to run at the airport, at the resorts, and so on. But now you will start seeing them on the road. Before 2 years, I went to China and I saw that all the two-wheelers were electric vehicles. So very soon, within a couple of years, all the two-wheelers in India also will be electric vehicle. And there are some vehicles which are less than 250 watts. They don't require any certification. And electric bicycle does not need any certification. We will talk about certification in the subsequent slides. So when I talk about electric vehicle standards, they are called AIS standards, Automotive Industry Standards. And these AI standards are developed by ARAI. ARAI is the Secretariat Automotive Industry Standard. In each of formulation of the standard, there are committees from various automotive industry, component manufacturer, and ARAI and other testing agency, and they jointly make these standards. It is a win-win situation where everyone has to agree to make these standards. And we have AIS 039 measurement of electric energy consumption. We have AIS 40 measuring the range. Okay, without any additional charging, how much will that vehicle run? AIS 41, which talks about measurement of net power and maximum 30-minute power. So there are various test equipments and various standards available which are being done at ARAI today. We have a Center of Excellence in Electric Mobility. So my subject is future of electric vehicle and the various challenges. So quickly, I will now divert myself towards the electric vehicle and its technology. So we have battery electric vehicle, hybrid electric vehicle, plug-in hybrid, fuel cell electric vehicle, hydrogen vehicle. So the last option is fuel cell electric vehicle, which our country is working on. AR has already started working on fuel cells. Similarly, we have fired an IC engine with 70% CNG and 30% hydrogen. And we are coming up with the hydrogen technology, fuel cell technology, a lot of things. ARAI has to work before 10 years if India wants to implement this. So we have already started working on this. So basically, in a battery electric vehicle, we have a battery, we have a DC-AC inverter, we have a controller, we have an electric motor, we have a gearbox, right? And all this constitutes an electric vehicle. And you will see that most of them are at the bottom of the vehicle. And then we have a strong battery management system which looks after the state of the charge, which ensures that when the battery temperature goes above a particular temperature, it trips off so that the fire does not take place, and so on. So if I want to talk about the components of the electric vehicle, there are four major pillars of electric vehicle, four major component group or systems of electric vehicle. The first one is the battery itself, the energy storage system like batteries, so whether it is a lithium-ion battery or any other type of battery, that is the first component. The second is electric machine, that means the electric motor itself. There are different types of motor which we'll see in the subsequent slide. Third is the energy management system or a battery management system. When does the battery charge? When does the battery discharge? How much percent it is discharged? How much percent it is charged? Whether I can have a digital image of that? How do you charge them? How do you ensure the temperature doesn't go above a particular limit at various locations in the battery? All that is done through energy management system or battery management system. And the fourth component of systems are called power electronics and control. So there are many actuators and sensors and all those power electronics which is required to govern the electric vehicle. So that's how the electric vehicle is made on. And then we need to work on how can we make it 100% electric vehicle. So we started with micro, mild, medium, and in future we must get into the plug-in hybrid. And there are so many things like start stop. You stop at the signal, the engine stops, and when you see the green signal, you just press your feet on the accelerator and the engine starts again. So this is called micro hybrid, start stop. Then similarly we have brake energy regeneration, integrated motor assist, pure electric drive, power charge from grid, and so on. So we need to work on all these areas in terms of research and development. So any electric vehicle requires to move ahead in terms against the aerodynamic resistance, against the gradient resistance, against the rolling resistance, and we require power, and we require some extra power to accelerate the vehicle. So all that for an electric vehicle, how do you decide the motor capacity is decided using the same way you decide the engine cubic capacity or the engine power, right? So there are different types of motors in electric vehicle, traction motor, auxiliary motors, and their different requirements. So these motors have to help in compressor, steering, AC system, cooling system, and so on, right? So basically in an electric motor, we have a controller which controls, and we have a load that is like a vehicle which we have to overcome all various resistance. We have a power modulator, and we have a DC source which needs to be converted into AC, and so on. So this is a typical electric vehicle. As I told you, there is a rotor in the center, there are cooling failings around, there is a central shaft, there is a stator, there is a magnet inbuilt into this which generates EMF, EMI, and then you can see this typical motor. There is a stator, there is a rotor, and there are magnetic fields being generated. There are different types of motor. The three prominent types are permanent electric motor, permanent magnet motor, that is PM, induction motor, and SRM motor, that is switch reluctance motor. And all of them are used directly, indirectly in electric vehicle. And however, induction motor and permanent magnet motors are more famous, and SRM motors are not so famous. So you can see different vehicles using different types of vehicle. Yeah. So electric motor has a very good efficiency, varying from say 75% to 95%. Compared to IC engine, electric motor has a very high energy and efficiency, and it can be as good as 90%, say for example. And its torque is constant at initial speed, and then it drops down, and similarly power builds up initially as the speed increases, and then it becomes constant. So at low speed we have constant torque, and at high speed we have constant power. And this is what is the property of electric motor which we need to utilize. So when it comes to design of electric motor, basically electric motors are manufactured by electric motor manufacturer, and automotive company only select them. So how do they select electric motor? What are the various criteria from vehicle point of view, motor system point of view, or from motor point of view? What are the performance expected from electric vehicle in terms of acceleration, braking, maximum speed, grade, range, maneuverability. Based on these inputs, the outputs are decided, or the specification of the electric motors are decided, or selection or electric motors are selected. So one can select electric motor from the existing availability, or one can design electric vehicle from scratch and then manufacture them. Okay. So I am going to talk about challenge and future. So the challenges in terms of motor are cost, performance, life independence. We want low cost and high life. Yeah, you are in Ahmedabad and you all know that when we go to a shop for taking milk, for taking tea, please take it in a light mode. Then we will say आधा कप चाय दे दो, पंखा चालू करो, कुर्सी दे दो, newspaper दे दो, पानी दे दो. So in that 10 rupees of half cup tea, we expect a lot of things. We all in India, we have high expectation for low cost. We are working for value for the money. So there has to be a value for the money. It has to be a cost effective solution. The performance must be best and life must be high. So these three important criteria will help us to design what type of motor is required, how do we optimize them, how do we take care of their thermal management, how do we make it compact. These are the challenges with you as a faculty, you and your students. When you do research, you need to work on, and based on that, you design your motor. So there are many tools available for design of motor, and there are many components which we need to design, and it is not so easy. So most of the people buy. So even tomorrow, if you are developing electric vehicle, you are not going to make an electric motor. When you make an electric vehicle, you are going to ready-made buy an electric motor. Yeah, you have a chance to select them, right? But there are companies who really work hard to design an electric motor, right? And we need to work. For example, there is an EMI EMC test, electromagnetic interference test is required. Those equipments are available at ARAI, and the motor needs to be optimized for minimum noise, synchronization, optimization. All those things need to be worked on. And we need to have a knowledge in terms of electric, fluid dynamics, structural dynamics, and all those things. So analytical design, finite element analysis, thermal and structural integrity, and system analysis is what goes into the electric motor design and optimization. So we need to work in all those areas, whether it is related to electric vehicle or hybrid electric vehicle or electric two-wheelers. These are the various areas, these are the various technology roadmap on which all of us have to work. And it is high time that it is not only industry who do research, faculty in India must do a lot of research to support the industry. If you go to Europe and US, you will see engineering college professors do 50% training and 50% research, and many of this research are sponsored, and a lot of funding is generated through research. Some funding goes to faculty, some funding goes to the college. So it is high time that we all start doing research, and that is my job, to bridge the gap between industry and academia and ensure that many professors, many faculty, and many students become startup. They help. So there has to be an innovation cell or incubation cell in each and every college. They must support startup, and they must do a lot of hackathon to support the students, right? That's how innovation has to be built in our education system. I hope it's not boring, Dr. Bhatt. Am I in the same pace, or you want me to go faster?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is going fine.
Am I audible, and the speed is fine, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine, fine. So we will have to work on various configuration of the motor. There are different electric motor configuration drive, like central drive, wheel hub drive, and there are some advantages and disadvantages which we need to understand, right? Pros and cons. So I'm not going to go deep into it, because if I'm going to do deep into it, it is going to take 8 hours. So I'm not going to move faster slightly, but the slides are available. So when it comes to power electronics, the other section of electric vehicle, we need to work on its cost, size, weight, and efficiency, and whether it is systems and control, whether it's power and energy, or electronics and device. Power electronics plays a major role, and this is where some of us who are mechanical engineers lag, right? So when it comes to thermal management, mechanical engineers may be good. When it comes to suspension, steering, brakes, and powertrain and vehicle integration, mechanical engineers are good. When it comes to power electronics, we are not good. I myself is a mechanical automobile engineer. And sir, can we find out how many are electric engineer and how many are mechanical engineer here? Do we have an opinion poll or do we have a chat box where we can find out?
Participants can write in the chat box whether they are from electrical or from mechanical.
Yeah, just money, whether it is electrical, telecommunication, electronics, all are E, and whether they are mechanical or automobile, all are M. So you just write E or M. And then Professor Bhatt can find out how many E's are there and how many M's are there. I am sure there will be a mix of both. Your basic education is E or M. Please write it in the chat. If it is mechanical, production, and automobile, you write M. And if it is electrical, telecommunication, electronics, computers, you write it is E. So I have done 1/3 of the presentation, and we will give you a break for 5 minutes after 50% is done. So let us look at chat.
Sir, majority are from mechanical branch because the FDP was on renewable energy and conservation, that's why.
Okay, clear, fine. So then let me go back to my presentation and let me ask you, are you able to see the full screen?
Yes, sir, we can see.
So you are on the power electronics slide?
Yes, sir, power electronics slide.
And the next slide is again power electronics.
So it shows a triangle at the bottom showing efficiency.
Yeah, after that I have gone to the next slide. Did we go to the next slide?
No, sir.
No, so I think I will have to again reshare the screen.
Sir, now the slide has changed, sir. Power electronics. Now it is changing.
Fine. Now
it is just a lag of internet, nothing, sir.
Fine. So in power electronics, we need to work. So I have seen that most of you are mechanical engineer. I am very happy to know that you have a desire to learn electric vehicles, and that's what I told you in the beginning. We need to change. We need to reskill ourselves. Yes, we are not leaving mechanical engineering, but electric vehicle is going to become a part of mechanical engineering also. So if I say an MTech course in electric vehicle, it is still a mechanical engineering course, because the entire vehicle is mechanical. Suspension, steering, brakes, tires, everything is mechanical. Only the internal power electronics is also very important. The suspensions and the sensors and actuators are very important. We need to learn that so that we can retain electric vehicle in mechanical engineering branch, or it can be interdisciplinary. I think Dr. Bhatt, you are from electronic department, right?
No, sir, we are all from mechanical.
Achha, you are also from mechanical department?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, fine. So we will have to learn about power electronics, what is DC, what is AC, what is fast charging, what is slow charging, all those things we will have to learn and be able to put our shoulder to the shoulders of the electrical colleagues. Okay. So a lot of design goes into electric vehicles, and there are challenges related to subsystem performance, component selection and adoption, and to optimize the efficiency, size, weight, thermal management, and also look into the EMI, EMC compliance, reliability, safety. Safety is a very major component. If you don't take care, the electric vehicle can catch fire. Yeah, even a CNG and LPG vehicle can catch fire. Even a gasoline vehicle can catch fire. हम लोग पिक्चर में देखते हैं ना, वो विलन एक दिया सलाई लगाता है, he just puts one matchstick and the entire car bursts because there is so much of energy in the petrol tank. So any vehicle can take fire. It's not only electric vehicle, and we must have fear, but we have to ensure that the overall temperature in the battery, motor, everywhere is controlled so that there is no initiation of fire. And hence, battery management system plays a very important role. Power electronics plays a very important role. So as I told you, there are certain magnets which have to be imported from outside. We are not good. So now many companies have started working on manufacturing of magnets required for electric vehicle. Okay. I talked to you about energy management system. Some people call it as energy management system, EMS. Some people call it as battery management system called BMS. So there is a startup called Device Electronics who works extensively on battery management system and in Pune, and it looks into various control parameters like state of charge, state of health, all those things, and it does control in terms of temperature, in terms of communication, in terms of getting tripping off, and it also controls certain parameters, and if we are not able to control, then it trips off. Okay. Then the last option is the last component of the electric vehicle is the battery, which is the most costliest part, the energy storage system. And here we need to look at the battery from what is its rate. For example, we have C rate, which is 1C charging, or discharges the battery in 1 hour, and 2C means it takes half an hour. So lower the range, 1C, that means it charges in 1 hour, also discharges in 1 hour. But we can have 2C, 3C, but then it charges also very fast and discharges also very fast. It's like a mobile. And then we need to look into battery in terms of specific energy, specific power, energy density, power density. Then how do you take care of the thermal management? How do you cool? So like we have a radiator in an engine, we can also have a radiator, we can have a casing around the battery. So that is another innovation where the battery, lithium-ion battery is surrounded by an aluminum casing in which the water is circulating. So it could be a liquid immersion cooling, or it could be just a fan on all the sides of batteries and motors, which will run and cool the system through an air draft, or we can use a liquid cooling system through channels. So you are all faculty, and we had Professor John Goodenough, also one of the teaching faculty, American physics professor, and he invented lithium-ion battery. And he's the same person who is still working. He must be now 90-year-old, and even at this age, he's doing research, and he has come out with a glass battery. Very soon, these glass batteries will be introduced worldwide, and then the lithium-ion battery will get obsolete. So then we have a fear. We use different types of ions, lithium-ion in battery, and which to be used, for which we need to work on mass production, and whether this lithium-ion battery itself will have long life in terms of introduction, or a new glass battery is going to come. You must have seen the mobile which you were using before 5 years, a small mobile in which there was no WhatsApp, and now the big mobile which you are using, which is an Android, and you can have WhatsApp, and you can have Facebook, and you can have all entire social media into that small box. Things have changed, and hence the technology is going to change every 2 years so fast that if we don't keep pace with that, we'll be outdated. So tomorrow it is lithium-ion battery, tomorrow it may be something else. And hence vehicle manufacturers always have to look into the risk of getting into that business, that tomorrow that business will be outdated after 2 years, right? Like a camera, no one buys a camera because camera is inbuilt in the battery. So we need to work in this area, and we are very lucky that one of the professor has invented lithium-ion battery and still working on it, right? So there are different types of battery, lithium-ion battery, NIMH battery, metal air, lead acid battery, and so on, right? And they can have different shape and size like cylindrical shell, pouch cell, prismatic cell, even or a pencil cell. Even our mobiles have lithium-ion batteries. So we must understand the battery, like we have a battery cell, a battery module, and a battery pack. So cell is a small unit. It has an electrode, negative electrode, positive electrode, and it transforms chemical energy into electric energy. And I can have multiple cells to form a module, which is a group of different cells, and it generates electricity. And then I can have a battery pack, that is a group of modules, an array of interconnected module that has been configured. So if I want 10 kilowatt of power, then I need to have more battery cells and more modules into that battery pack. So you can see some of the battery packs here, how they are stacked together and then put it in a housing, and the housing can help them to cool also. So battery design is another area which we need to work on, and battery is very complex, where we have to take care of electricity, thermal structure, and chemistry, as I told you earlier. and various materials are used at this. So ARI is tied up with NCL, National Chemical Laboratory in Pune, and it is also tied up with ISRO. And we are doing a lot of research on batteries. And ARI is also tied up with certain universities like MIT World Peace University, where we can have people who can do PhDs in this area. So we need to work in this area in battery design. So there are different types of battery design, and depending on whether we want high power or high energy or a combination of both, we need to decide what type of batteries and what type of battery material we must use, so that we can do a trade-off between battery capability, power capability, and energy capacity. Fine. So battery material is another area of research, whether it is lead acid battery to nickel cadmium battery. Yes, any question up till now? Are there any questions up till now? Do you need a break or shall we continue? Sir, can we have a break for a couple of minutes?
Yes, sir, we can take a break.
So we have completed 50% of the slides. I think this will go till 1 o'clock instead of 12:30. So let's have a break for 3 minutes and come back.
Okay, sir, no problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Tony? I finished 50 slides. I finished 1 o'clock. Okay. Okay, I'm back.
Yes, sir. You can please continue.
Thank you, sir, for your patience. Has everyone come back?
Yes, sir. Everyone is here only.
Yeah, so actually I needed a break more than you.
No problem, sir. No problem.
Thank you for your patience, and we continue with the presentation. I just check once again the presentation. I better reshare it. Okay, are you able to see, sir?
Yes, sir. In a window.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
and now
Now
the
full
full
screen.
screen.
We are on the
Yes.
slide of batteries, countries with mining resources.
Perfect, perfect.
Yes.
So there are many countries who have a lot of good mining resource. India is very poor in this. We have somewhere in Karnataka's very small reserves for lithium mines. Otherwise, nowhere in India we have lithium mines. We have some in Gujarat and some in Karnataka. But the maximum is, this in Australia, China, right? China does not have much reserve, but what China has done is they have purchased mines in all the countries, and they are the supreme in terms of mine ratios. Yes, there are other countries also in South America and Africa, and not ARI, sorry, India has signed MOU with countries like Bolivia, where the lithium would come from. So no more the lithium would come from China. Yes, there are three major countries called lithium triangle: Argentina, Bolivia, and Chile. And we have tied up with Bolivia, and our lithium reserves would come from Bolivia. That's what has been done with the help of Niti Aayog. Then we talk about charging stations. We have slow charging, we have fast charging, and then we have different types of system, AC system, DC systems, right? And there are types called type 1, type 2, type 3. And there is a standard which I will talk to you about, which talks about all these different types, and then what we need to do on that: DC charging, AC charging, right? So for example, if we are going to charge our vehicle from our own electric line at home, then it is AC charging. And if you are going to a charging station, then it is DC charging. So we need to understand that and work accordingly in those areas. So there are standards related to EV charger which must take care of safety, scalability, saving, security, and simplicity. So there are ISO standards, there are SAE standards, IEC standards. So what India has done is India has studied all these standards and converted into its own standard, AI standards. So I will be talking about these AI standards subsequently. You will see that government has initiatives on electric vehicle charging, and around 1,000 crores of rupees has been kept only for the charging stations across the country. And in 2018, the ministry released the guideline for the charging infrastructure, and what would be the type of connectors for slow charging, fast charging. All those things have been defined in 2018. ARI has been helping government and ministry in standardization. ARI has also developed their own chargers, and this is available for technology transfer. I think the technology transfer cost is just 15 lakhs rupees. And up till now, we have sold around 6 customers, 6 manufacturers who have purchased our technology and who will start manufacturing electric charging stations. So if any startup wants, they can also buy this technology and start manufacturing charging stations. So this is a DC charger. This is the AC charger which ARI has developed, and also a simulator. So looking at the standards, so now with this various challenges in the future of electric vehicle, I will now shift towards the standards. What are the standards and regulations of EV in India? And you will see that we had the first committee for electric vehicle in 1999. That means before 21 years. Before 21 years in 1999, we formed a committee for type approval of battery operated vehicle, that is electric vehicle, which constitutes ARAI, VRD, ECMA, Automotive Component Manufacturer Association, SIAM, Society of Indian Automotive Manufacturers, and VRD, Vehicle Research Development Assembly. All these like-minded people came together, formed a committee, and then we started working on AIS standards for electric vehicle and how electric vehicle can be certified. And REVA was the first vehicle which was certified in 2001. And then in September 2003, we declared all the standards, series of standards. We also added battery electric vehicle in CMVR, Central Motor Vehicle Rules Technical Committee. And then from 2005, it became compulsory for all the electric vehicles to be tested and certified, except anything which is less than 250 watts. So if a cycle or a small two-wheeler which is less than 250 watts, it need not be certified. But it has to be certified that it is less than 250 watts. Suppose somebody is using a 1 kilowatt motor and says it is less than 250 kilowatts, then how do you know? So for that, they have to come to ARI to ensure that they are less than 250. Okay. So there are various standards which ARI has developed with the help of various committees, and these are for OEM, that is people who are manufacturing vehicle, they need to get their vehicle certified, and some are for retrofit. So India is the only country which has declared a retrofit standard called AIS 123, where anyone can remove the engine and put an e-kit, that is put a motor, battery management system and power electronics into that, and the vehicle can start running as an electric vehicle. Like we have CNG retrofit, you have a vehicle which is old, you convert it to CNG vehicle. Similarly, you have a vehicle which is very old, the engine is also not working, or engine is VS1 emitting a lot of emission. One can go to a workshop, remove the engine, put an e-kit and use it for the next 10 years. So that is the advantage. So under AIS standards, under AIS 123, there are many retrofit kit manufacturers with their garages who are certified by us, and they can do. So up till now, around 6 of them have taken the certification of retrofitting. So that is another area. So one area of research and business as a startup is battery charging station, and second area research is e-kit, e-retrofit kit of converting IC engine vehicle into electric vehicle. Right? And there are many youngsters who have started working in this area. And the third area is swapping of battery. So battery charging, e-kit, and battery swapping. So you start a business, open up a shop where the old people will come with their old batteries. You have to give them a new battery, ask them to run, and tell them next day you come and take your own battery, which will charge and keep it ready. These are the charges and so on. So people can keep on swapping battery and getting their original battery back, or they need not buy the battery at all. They can buy the battery on rent, and based on that, that company which is giving the battery on rent will charge you something, say 1,000 rupees per month or 2,000 rupees per month. But then they will be in charge of battery charging. They will be in charge of battery life and warranty and everything, right? So there are, for OEM, there are standards for electric vehicle, there are standards for hybrid electric vehicle, and there are also standards for charging stations. So these are the standards in nutshell. Electric vehicle is AIS 038, 039, 40, 41 and 48. I showed you some of those standards, like which will decide what is the range, what is the power and all those things. Then there are standards for battery. The standard for battery are the toughest. AIS 048 talks about the battery standard, how it is tested and certified. There is one test called a nail penetration test. That means you have to hammer a nail on the casing of the battery and nothing must happen. Then there are charging station standards like AIS 138. Part 1, Part 2 is slow charging, fast charging and other standards. And then there is a hybrid vehicle standard called AIS 102, which will have engine as well as the motor. And then there is a retrofit standard, that is AIS 123. And then there are other standards also, like low speed two-wheeler, AIS 131, e-rickshaw, e-cart and so on. Okay. So what type of testing is done on the electric vehicle at ARAI? So we first is the safety point. For example, if the vehicle has to pass on water, so we have a water wading test. So to find out whether there are any electric leakages. Then we have EMI test, electromagnetic interference of the entire vehicle or a particular component like motor is kept in a anechoic chamber, and then its electromagnetic interference is checked. We also have a crash test compulsory for electric vehicle, but we have to be more careful when we do a crash test for an electric vehicle. It must not catch fire. So a lot of tests are done before the crash test is done. All those is done. So coming to challenges and research, we talked about what are the future of electric vehicle and what are the challenges. As a faculty, what are your challenges? As a faculty, what are the areas in which you can do research or your students can do research? So if you are a PhD and you have a PhD student tomorrow, these are the areas where they can work. What type of research can we do in India? Can we make concepts? Can we work on modeling, simulation, optimization? So there are many companies like Ricardo, Altair, ANSYS, who have various softwares related to design and optimization of electric vehicle, whether it is thermal management, whether it is structural analysis, whether it is modeling, or whether it is hardware in loop. Every software is available. So AI is very lucky to have all this software free of charge from Ricardo, ANSYS, Altair. And our students, whether they are BTech, MTech or PhD, they work on all these simulations. So if somebody is interested, AI labs and softwares are available, maybe with some nominal cost, we can accommodate you guys. Can we make a prototype? So there are companies, there are colleges, we have started making prototype, like RIT has made one prototype, then KCT in Coimbatore has made one prototype. So there are many colleges and universities who are making electric vehicle prototype. And now we also have a competition called eBaha, where Baha vehicles are also, electric vehicles are also, prototypes are made by various colleges. Can we make an EV retrofit kit? Can we work on battery swapping? Can we work on charging station? Can we make a BMS? Can we work on system integration? Can we buy motor from somewhere, battery from somewhere, and do a battery management system and retrofit a new vehicle, your own vehicle, and so on, right? Okay. So you're not allowed to retrofit your own vehicle. It has to be done by an authorized company who has a workshop or a garage and who has got this AIS 123 certification done from ARAI. So not only the design of the vehicle, we can also talk of validation of the vehicle. So V stands for validation. How do you do the system validation, component vehicle, overall vehicle validation? How do you check its reliability? How do you check its detailed design, optimization, thermal management? So a lot of validation is required, and this is how validation is done. Validation for the mechanical components, validation for the electrical component, validation for the software and hardware, and so on. Right. So what are the current research trends? What are the challenges and what are the areas where we can do research? So here I have put some topics for you where you can work on electric vehicle architect or electric motor or energy management or big data or artificial intelligence or in vehicle networking, energy storage and solutions, software architecture, smart charging station. So friends, these are the areas of research which you as a faculty can work on. And then you can work on different types of motors and comparing them motors and rating these motors. How do you manufacture them? How do you validate them? All those things you can work on. You can work on energy management strategies or BMS systems on different methods. You can work on energy storage systems, so you can work on different types of battery research, whether it's a metal air battery or glass battery or sodium ion battery. So I talked to you about glass battery, which uses an alkali metal solution or a lithium in anode and a mixture of carbon with a redox active component like sulfur manganese dioxide in cathode. And if you can Google glass battery, you will get a lot of information. So you can work in these areas also. Why do we wait for Professor good enough Earth to work on it? We can also work on it. Then you can work on hybrid energy storage systems and supercapacitor. Then you can work on smart charging solutions. So a lot of innovation is done on how do you charge. So you can charge, or if the bus is moving in a city, then on the top of the bus you can have a grid, or there can be a vehicle to vehicle energy charger, like in batteries or in mobile also we can give our internet to somebody else. We can give a hotspot. Similarly, vehicle to vehicle can also give an energy hotspot, or when the road is the road itself can help to charge the battery, or the tires can help to charge the battery, and so on, right? So we need to work on all this innovation of charging. Battery swapping is another area. So you can develop a box where, say for example, a two-wheeler battery swapping is the most easiest, and the battery will be small and compact and lightweight. So you can make a big cupboard. In college we have lockers for the students, right? So this locker will have 4 by 8, uh, like 32 lockers. So you can convert this locker into a battery charging stations. And if some two-wheeler comes with a battery, you just put that in the charging station, remove another charge battery and give it to him, and he will swap the battery and move ahead. And in the evening, he can come and collect his own battery and so on, right? So battery swapping solution is another area where we have to work. But if it's a very big battery, then we require a crane to remove the battery, and we need quick connectors to disconnect and connect those batteries. So it's a lot of fun doing invention in this area. Intelligent solution. So can we put some artificial intelligence into this for charging? See, you can see that video where you can see that how can the charging station be changed. It can become a shed, it can become a solar power, it can become a workshop where you can lift the battery and do some repair and all those things. So a lot of intelligent solutions for charging are required, and we need to work on those areas also. I'm sure that you are writing down all these points which will help you to do some innovation. Some work you must start with the help of your students. It can be a student project, or it can be your PhD project if you're not PhD, right? So we need to work on this vehicle to grid area. That's a bigger project, much bigger project. Like in your building, you can have a vehicle to grid area, or in your industry, or in your college also. So why not put a charging station in the college? And in the first 6 months, you can say it is free charging. So all students and faculty will start buying electric vehicle because it is free charging. And then later on you can start charging. But that's how you can increase awareness of electric vehicle. And then when you start using electric vehicle, you will come across a lot of problem, and that's how you will become more conversant with the technology, right? So how you can create a framework for grid support by used battery. So there are a lot of used battery which can be used for recharging the grid. Then we are also talking about vehicle to cloud and prognostic. So more and more of artificial intelligence will come in for analysis, for troubleshooting of problems. Big data analytics is another area, and using software, various types of new softwares like Python, MATLAB is another area where we have to work. And we must be able to analyze the data. We can collect a lot of data. For example, the vehicle is an autonomous electric vehicle is moving. It is coming across a lot of signals. So how will it interpret this signal? If somebody is crossing the road, how would you know that that is a cow or a dog or a two-wheeler or a human being crossing the road? So the vehicle has to learn. I'll just take 1 minute. My battery is getting discharged, so let me connect to the battery. Yes, fine. So I'm just giving you a lot of ideas where artificial intelligence or a lot of data being collected, and then we require something to analyze this data quickly using big data analysis or analytical, right? And then a lot of artificial intelligence. If you're going to convert the electric vehicle in autonomous or ADAS, advanced driver assistance system, where driver gets some relief while driving, he can take some rest, he can take some phone calls. So here, in terms of artificial intelligence, we must know how to reason, how to do problem solving, how to create data bank or how to create knowledge bank, and then use that knowledge whenever any problem solving is required or any troubleshooting is required, planning. And in terms of learning, the vehicle has to learn when it moves forward and gets habituated to the new style. So if the vehicle is running in India, it may require a new style, and the vehicle is running in USA, it may require a new style. There may be different types of obstacles: speech recognition, perception, motion, and manipulation. So these are some of the areas which we will have to work on. And another is intra-vehicle networking. One vehicle must be able to talk to the other car, or different components of the car must talk to each other. Like we may have 50 ECUs, then can we do some research to combine all these ECU into one, so the cost drastically goes down and still all of them work independently. Software architecture for electric vehicle is another area, and there is a standard called ISO 26262, where these are called safety norms, but not from crash point of safety or accident point of view. These are more from that the software or the hardware must not crash. So there is a lot of areas where people can work in this area, where the what do you say? You don't require much money. You just require software. And so using software and using various simulation technology is something which professors can do, right? So there are many softwares. If required, I can help you to locate those software, and then you can start working on those software and do a lot of optimization without doing any prototype work, right? So that's the first step which engineering colleges or academia must start working. And then there are many companies who are selling this software or giving training on this, right? We also talked about validation. So the system-driven simulation for e-mobility or mobility is another area which we need to work on, or we need to work on model-based development process where design, development, and validation are done together. So these are the key challenges, key anxiety, which I told you. One is the range anxiety. So how do you increase your kilometer per charge or miles per charge, and how do we ensure that minimum 250 kilometer it must run? And if charging is required, then there must be charging stations on the highways when one is moving from one city to another. And another area is vehicle integration. Where will be the battery? Where will be the motor? Battery, it is advisable to have it in the floor of the car so that the weight distribution is taken care of and the CG is taken care of. Also, we need to work in terms of safety, durability, in terms of fire, crash, all these things. Also, we must make our vehicle more stronger, more sturdy. And then in terms of performance, what is the efficiency of the motor? How is the thermal management done? How is the noise? And all those things also, how is the energy getting transferred, also need to do research. So these are the key challenges in the research and development, and simulation can help us to solve this. Simulation can help us to design, simulation can help us to validate, simulation can help us for future manufacturing assembly line, and simulation can also help us to have a better operation system, even repair, maintenance, all those things will come under simulation. So there is a lot of multi-physics application, and we need to work in all these areas to become a master in electric vehicle. And there are, as I told you, there are a lot of software. So these are the softwares from Ricardo. And then there are some other softwares depending on the requirement and depending on the level. Then these are all Ricardo software talking about Weldin, Fierce, SABR, Vectis, Ignite. These are all the software from Ricardo. Then there are a lot of softwares which help to EV system level simulation, specifically for the two-wheelers. Or we need to use a lot of fluid dynamics. So there are software related to fluid dynamics where we can do 3D computational fluid dynamics. Or noise and vibration. So the noise must not be too low. It must not be zero. It must be somewhere around 50 decibel, right? It must not be more than 74 decibel. So all those things have to be taken care. It must not be more than the limit for a normal vehicle. It has to be obviously low. But if it is 30, 40, 50, if it is 30, then it's too low. That is also not acceptable. So we need to trade off and work on all this area. So we have an NVS department where we can do all these things. And then establish the overall system specification response required an integral 1D and 3D thermal simulation. So we need to specify how many thermocouples would be there, what will be the limit of thermocouple, when will it trip, when will it stop working, all those things we need to, when will it give warning, we need to work on those areas also and finalize the specification. So there are a lot of simulation solutions today, and these are some of the topics which I have just written down where you can do research. Fine. So it is 12. We have another 20 minutes left. So I will now shift into skill development. My last 10 slides. As a professor, you must know what skilling is required. So for some, it will be an entirely new skill. So if you have a BTech course on electric mobility and somebody is going to join after 12, then for him it's entirely new skills. Yes, you need to work on various syllabus and curriculum development. So ARI Academy will also help you in curriculum and syllabus development. You can just send it to us and we will help you. Or reskilling. So people who are, for example, people who are working in Cummins or EVTech who are just producing engines, they need to be reskilled in electric vehicle, or they can work on hybrid vehicle, or it may be altogether a new skill from other sectors. So some other sectors are working on. For example, people working in powertrain electronics, we require them here, or people who are working on various apps, they may be required, or we can replace our skill or remove from the auto sector. So something may become outdated, then we'll have to remove them. But today, reskilling is the main mantra and everyone has to learn new things. I talked to you about eBaha. So we are conducting Baha event from last 15 years and through SA India. And before 5 years, in 2015, we started eBaha with the blessing of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And today the number of vehicles, today we have 50 eBaha vehicles teams working on electric vehicle. So you can recommend your engineers, your students to work on eBaha. So these are the 5 people who met, including me, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and he said that we must work on an alternate source, not just gasoline engine. And then we came back, talked to Dr. Goenka, and then we decided there are 2 options, alternate fuel or electric vehicle, and we decided to work on electric vehicle because it is a zero emission vehicle, right? So in terms of various courses, we have a postgraduate diploma in electric mobility, we have a postgraduate diploma in electric and autonomous vehicle. Then we have various, it's a 1-year course with 3 trimesters. We also have an MTech course in electric and hybrid vehicle where students come to ARI in the last year, and we do a lot of awareness. So this is what I want to stress on last 2-3 slides. One, we need to work on electric vehicle awareness program and for the faculty and the students and the management. And if you write to me, I have promised that we will do an awareness program in your campus, physical or digital, whatever is suitable at that time. We will take a decision and we will give a lecture. We will show a demo of electric vehicle to the students and so on, 2-wheeler, 4-wheeler. Fine. So in conclusion, I would like to say that as a faculty, we have a very big scope of electric vehicle where we can work on electric vehicle components like motor, battery, BMS or sub-components, thermal management of electric vehicle, or working for the automotive industry, or looking at the end of life of these batteries and other things, electric vehicle charging infrastructure. So there are series of areas where we all can work together and fulfill the dream of 30% electric vehicle penetration by 2030. So let's all work together for the penetration of electric vehicle in India. The students, the academia and the industry has to work together in this area and transform the entire skill landscape. So here is my email ID, vora.pga@ariindia.com. So please feel free. So as we help LD College of Engineering, we will be very eager to help any college if they want to work in the area of electric vehicle or any area of automotive engineering. Anything you want in the field of automotive engineering, whether it is suspension, steering, brake, electric vehicle, hybrid vehicle, alternate fuel, noise and vibration, emission, any area safety, we are available to support you. Thank you, Dr. Bhatt, for allowing me to give this presentation and allowing me to take 10 minutes more. And thank you all the professors, 190 participants of this program who have a very patient hearing. I'll be very happy to answer your question next 10 minutes if Dr. Bhatt allows me. Over to Dr. Bhatt.
Thank you very much, sir. On behalf of participants and entire team, participants, if you have a question, you can ask now.
So as I told you, I'm a mechanical and automobile engineer. If you ask me very fundamental questions, it will be different, but I'll try my best. And if I'm not able to answer, I'll answer you later on. Please feel free. Or you can even put your question in the chat and Dr. Bhatt can have a look at that also and ask me the questions.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, I want to know that there is your institute ARAI. So
yeah, ARAI. Yes. You can complete your question. What is the other question?
Yes. Do they provide any internship for students?
Yes. So thank you for your question. ARAI stands for Automotive Research Association of India. It was formed in 1966, before 55 years. And it is in Pune, near Maharashtra, near Mumbai. And ARAI is in the top of the hill, just behind the MIT World Peace University. And it has 3 locations, one in Kothurud in Pune, 2 are in Chakan. And we do testing, certification, research and development for the automotive industry. And we have an ARAI Academy, which was formed before 15 years. It is spread across 5-acre land in Chakan. And in ARAI Academy, we have BTech course, MTech course, PhD program. We are not a university, we are not in college. Our aim is to develop human resource for ever expanding automotive industry. So we do a lot of skill development program. I myself is the chairman for the electric vehicle expert group in ASCC, Automotive Skill Development Council. Automotive Skill Development Council is a subset of National NSDC, National Skill Development Council, under Ministry of Skill Development. So we prepare various qualification pack, various training programs. Those who wants to do any training, we conduct 50 training program in a year. And if you just go to ARAI website, www.araiindia.com, you will be able to see an ARAI Academy sub website. It is www.academy.araiindia.com. And you will see all those training program, latest training program there. As I told you, 50 training program in a year is our target. We train around 5,000 professionals every year. And under our collaboration, students come to ARAI and study for 6 months, 1 year. And we have an internship program. For example, we have an electric vehicle internship program, which is starting in January. Students can also become an intern, professors can also become intern. Right now, all this internship is online, but in future, there are physical internship program also. We have been doing this internship program from last 1 year. So in case you need any detail, email it to me. I will send you the brochures related to internship, which is in January. Yes. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. What is your name?
Dheeraj Kumar Dhakad, sir.
From?
Dheeraj Kumar Dhakad from Rajasthan Technical University, Kota.
Very good. So if you want us to do something from Rajasthan, you can take the lead and we will help you. Okay. We are already in touch with Skill Development Council of Rajasthan, but please feel free to send me an email, Professor Dheeraj Kumar. Okay, next question. But sir, can you check chat and let me know what are the questions, if there are no verbal questions?
Sir, there is a question in a chat box
from
Mr. Ankit Gandhi.
Yes.
I'm just reading it. Sir, in your view, how much time will the electric vehicle industry mature in similar terms to IC engines regarding battery management and infrastructure?
Sure. Sure. So I must just tell you that the first factory which came in 2021 in 2001 was Mahindra Reva in Bangalore. Now Mahindra has taken over that factory, and then it was called Mahindra Reva. Now it's called Mahindra Electric. One of my friend, Mr. Mahesh Babu, is the managing director of that Mahindra Electric, and they are producing electric vehicles in Bangalore. Now they are building up a very bigger factory in Chakan in Pune, where they will be manufacturing more electric motors, batteries, and work on battery. They'll have a research center where they will do all this research. There are many companies in two-wheeler who have started producing electric vehicles. So I am sure this entire ecosystem is being supported through FAME and Niti Aayog. And that is what, as I said, by 2030, the next 10 years, India will be producing a lot of electric vehicles and our penetration will be 30%. That means around 7 million, around 10 million vehicles will be sold, electric vehicles will be sold in India. I hope that answers your question, sir. What is your name? I will suggest first ask your name. I think it was Ankit Gandhi, right?
Sir, I think the participants may not have the microphone. That's why he has written
Yes,
in the
sir.
chat
Myself,
box.
Ankit Gandhi, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah,
From Gandhinagar, sir.
Which college?
Gandhinagar Institute of Technology.
Okay. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your answer. Thank you.
Yes, some more questions. I'll be very happy to answer some more questions. Any questions from the faculty of LT College of Engineering? I have been to this college several times. And I think recently LT College of Engineering got also an award for the best college, right, sir?
Yes, sir. It was SSIP Awards, Student Startup and Innovation
Yes,
Project,
yes.
and 2 days back we have this.
Yeah,
Yes.
congratulations to your entire staff and
Yes.
also the principal of the college, Dr. Mrs. Gajjar.
Yes. So I presume there are no more questions from the participants.
Yes.
Sir, on behalf of our entire team, I would like to thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the informative. Sir, there is a question in the chat box.
Sure.
I'm sorry,
Sure.
I'm reading it.
Yeah.
Can new fresh graduate mechanical engineering student can join for internship in ARAI? It is from Chintamani Kadbhane.
From which college, sir? Anyway, I'll answer
It
the
is
question.
not. Yes.
Yeah, anyone, whether you are a student, you are a professor, you are a working professional, or you are just passed and you have no job, anyone is even an MTech student or a BTech student or a PhD student, no student can join the internship program. Yes, internship is chargeable. There are some minor charges because we have to take care of your food and everything. Sorry, if it is physical, we have to take care of the food, then the charges are slightly higher. If it is online, also there will be some minor charges. I think the charges varies from 10,000 rupees to 20,000 rupees. And if you register in bulk, then there are some discounts also. So write to me, I will send you all those details.
So thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful, fruitful session. We are very much happy to hear you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. You can.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone,
Yes,
and we
sir.
keep in touch. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Participants, we are meeting at 1:30 p.m. So please join.